Hello, everybody, and hello to you. And again, I'm so happy that you're here again with us. So we come to a close on a couple of days of really inspiring, challenging conversation. It's such a blessing to have the opportunity to be in Asia for the first time and to have a chance to understand a little bit more about the ways that you see the world and the ways that you understand the challenges that we share as part of the global humanity, and the ways that you're working to try to solve these, particularly through enabling business to be a solution. And our challenge really to close the conference today is to try and wrap up, close the loop from the opening conversation that we had and the opening words of wisdom that we had yesterday morning, and to leave you with something that you can take away with you. I hope that you will think about what questions you might have for Dr. Anil, and after I ask a few of my own, I would like to invite you all to ask questions too. I thought that in our closing conversation, I would pick up from a couple of the comments that you made yesterday. You gave us 4 points of advice in your talk yesterday morning about building a blessing brand, and you talked about the fact that humans are an integral part of nature and the natural world, and the fact that what we do each day individually has a profound effect on the natural world, and that as humans we are evolving, and that we have the choice around how we evolve, and that our choices matter every day, and what we do and how we choose to behave in our personal life and in our business life has a profound impact on not only our own ability to find happiness, but also our ability to create a world for a future. And I wonder if you can touch on that again, if there's anything that you could bring to us around how we can build more of a practice of mindfulness into our lives. What practice should we pursue?
Thank you. Thank you, KoAnn. And good afternoon once again. So nice to be back again in this hall. I guess what I try to deliver the message to you under the word all the Reimagine we started yesterday is basically what I think is that, as KoAnn just mentions, 4 points. So thank you that reminding me, because these days things change fast and I don't know that what I already spoke about yesterday. So in those 3-4 points, the most key element, I guess, that in the way we think about our business, in the way we think about our brands, or the way we deal about our daily life, one very important point we always do miss is that although we are thinking about our ego, although I would think about ourselves, but in real practice, sometimes the way we do things are totally selfish to promote that ego. And then not only that, sometimes that ego is totally lost within what you are doing outside, and then you don't know what you are doing yourself, although you think that you are doing for yourself. So the whole idea of mindfulness is very, very important in this junction of the revolution, I guess, because nowadays when we think of the mindfulness, it's become a buzzword. Although I wouldn't claim that is a Buddhist word anymore, because although people already took that from the Buddhism, it's become now no copyright, so anyone can use that. But mindfulness, the way Western, as KoAnn may familiar, you are using the word mindfulness to deal with everything in the society, everything in the life, and the way the mindfulness, I look at it, there's some distance, there's some gap between those two mindfulness, I guess. So just to get into the whole idea of mindfulness from the Western point of view, I think the one who defined the mindfulness in the Western point of view is that John Kabat-Zinn. who is a psychologist, of course, who is a medical doctor and then become psychology, and then who got interested in Buddhism and then already use this mindfulness as the remedy to everything. So mindfulness has become a 21st century's mantra. So he says that mindfulness is to pay attention at the present moment on purpose and non-judgmentally. So it means that at the moment, are you mindful or not? Or your body is here, but your mind is somewhere. You might thinking that it's nearly 5. I have to do this, I have to do that. Although you are hearing my voice piercing through your ears, but in Thai they call it khao chai. It means that go to inside, when the khao means enter to the air, and the chai is supposed to be here inside, in the heart. So khao chai in Thailand means that go in and then go into the deep into the heart. But in most of our case, khao hu khwa thalu hu sai. Which means that go into the right ear and then immediately just pass through from the left ear, and then you just feel good. It's good to hear that. It's good that I feel good. But good for what? So that's a mindfulness. You have to bring every moment, whatever you are doing, at least at the moment, you should know that you are listening to me. I'm not such a kind of a monk that I need the full attention for myself, but I want to give your full attention to wise words, not me. So don't look at me, but look at my words, or listen to my word, and then immediately process that, think it that, to be at present. Try to solve the things at the present. Don't think of the future, don't think of the... But the word non-judgmental as a Western idea of mindfulness, I think that is a little bit of some problem there, because if you don't judge, then it means that, I don't know, where we are leading to. Because if you have some kind of, for example, talking about your business word again, I guess that when people, like in Spain or somewhere, I see in the television that you use the cow or whatever they call, the cow competition, and then you kill the cow, and then in order to see that killing the cow, you have to pay the money. And then that has become a revenue, that's become economic. By seeing that, that torturing an animal, it's become a fun, it's become a good, it's adding the value of the economic value onto that. That's activity we do. But the same thing, imagine. Before I came here, if there's a busy street, if there's a small boy helping an elderly man to cross the road, this is also doing a kind of activity. But why we don't put economic value on that boy's good deeds? But we are putting economic value on that killing or the torturing others. So this is how do we can, if you have a non-judgmental, how do you say that? But I think from Buddhism, what you call sati, mindfulness, sampajanya, consciousness. And that is the word we needed. It is not only mindfulness. I will add that you have to add another word, mindful awareness. So it's mindfulness, basically from Buddhist point of view, it just means memory actually. Because mindful means that when I see this as a paper. Of course, everyone sees this as a paper, I guess. If you see something else, I'm worried. And this is a paper, of course, a brochure. Why I call this paper, I call it brochure? Because it just means that from my childhood I was told, so I learned, I memorized. So when I see that, I just validate this very paper now. So it's not wisdom. This is just kind of nothing. It's just kind of recalling my memory and then put it to that. That's kind of if I can't bring my memory here, then I'll be lost. What do you call this? What is that? So you are mindless, you see. So mindful generally means that you call upon to this. And then, but it's not enough. You need to have awareness. Because if you know this paper, now okay, it's fine. But I will see that this paper is a little bit crumbled. It's supposed to be very neat. It's not neat. So immediately I'm attaching a lot of putting here. And then when you put there, the John Kabat-Zinn said it should be not judgmental. But I said that, yes, this is a crumbling paper, but this is bad paper. But if you know that is bad, how do you correct that? So you need to have a judgment. How do you correct that? If you just let go, just, that is bad. Oh, you don't do anything. So how do you improve the world? So basically what I mean is that when you have mindfulness, you need to have that consciousness, the awareness that you have to develop to be a better. That is develop to be better for the betterment of whatever you're doing. Our intention has to be there. And then we need to have a wisdom in order to be able to see this even clearer than what we see now. From the way you see now, you see, of course, this is a paper. But if you see deep enough, if you see deeper and with your wisdom and with your what you call insight, that is what you call something like X-ray. You see, if you X-ray this paper, do we find this paper still exists? If you tear this paper to small pieces, bit and pieces, do we still call paper? Now we are judging here. Now we are putting a value onto that. Whether we, instead of putting this paper is crumbled, this paper is good or bad, and putting adjective on top of that, and more and more and more, instead of adding the adjective, looking through it, when you see that, then you will find that actually you might be able to see this paper, maybe a piece of cloud floating around. Why? If there is no cloud, will there be any rain? If there is no rain, will there be any woods, any trees? And without any trees, will there be any paper, this piece of paper? You see, you have to see through it. That's what mindful awareness means. It is not only be present, but you have to be able to see through that presence and where you are and what you are doing, your what actions and what you step on. That is, I think, the full sort of meaning of mindfulness from a monastic point of view. I wouldn't say your point of view.
So I find it interesting how many times I've heard in the last couple of days a contrast between Western approach and the Asian approach or Eastern approach. I don't find that so much in the West, and I'm simply observing.
So sad that.
I'm simply observing. But I do see that mindfulness in the way perhaps that John Kabat-Zinn speaks of it is definitely growing in the West from many directions, partly through the growth in the practice of yoga, which is massively expanded in the West, and certainly in the U.S., but also from the standpoint of the practice of systems thinking. We talked about that yesterday. And I think that's the thing that we all, as business people, need to be aware of, and also, I want to say, capitalize on, because the reality is this piece of paper, those of us who are starting to understand how to practice systems thinking look at it and see the tree underneath it and see the carbon that it takes out of the air. Absolutely. And the implications of that. And that's an exciting development in the world today. I think we are collectively, from what I can see traveling around the world and working with people who are probably on the leading edge of the practice of systems thinking, we are coming to a deeper awareness of the interconnectedness of things. And that is both a frightening thing and it's also a great opportunity. I think one of the things that sparks is this question about what is enough. I know that we've heard quite a bit about the research that says that the younger generation now is fed up with consumption and being positioned as consumers. I know just in my own company, my small selection of sample size, 4 of the 25 people that work on my team quit a big 4 accounting firm, KPMG, PwC, Ernst & Young, to come work for about 30% of their former salaries to do something that they felt was more meaningful. And yet, at the same time, we can all get caught up in trying to save the world and lose ourselves in even that pursuit. So how do we wrestle with this notion of what is enough? How much do we have to individually take responsibility for our choices every day? How much should we try to change the world? How do we know? what's enough on that level?
Well, that is a big question. I need another hour.
Me too.
Well, the idea of enough, I think that is very important sort of a key word for these days, because we are suffering so badly because we don't know what is enough. And then although the enough sometimes is very diluted, the most importantly, we think that we are enough. But for him, what is enough? Because we found that as soon as he can collect all the wealth and property and so, and he might think that he's not, he was not hurting other people. It is kind of a right livelihood and so. For like a case study in Thailand, because here are a lot of Thai, I guess that I can communicate more easily in a sense that like a lot of the government civil servant, even in the police or sometime, you will see that by being in a high position, and it is Thai custom that people will bring you the things. It is not it is not a corruption. It is just a compassion, you see. In the name of compassion, but you are giving all those things as a favor. And once you have favor, by the system, of course, it's not a corruption. But the way you're collecting and more, and then you don't know where to put it, one house is not enough. Now you have to have another house to store those things, just a gift. And then so and so. And for him, he thought that he's not corrupting, he's doing everything good. All he was getting is a reward from what he's going to be honest man. So where is enough for him? So generally it is difficult to think is that if you are starving and then you know how to eat it, that's fine. But in this case, you have enough to eat. And people are bringing more and more because of your status, because of your whatever your position in the society. And then you are collecting and more. And then you are taking more spaces, you are doing more and more. And in that sense, how do we cut the line enough? So that's why I will say that even the mindfulness is already now, it's not a real mindfulness. I think there is one book called Mindfulness in the Marketplace. Mindfulness is a marketplace. Compassionate response to consumerism, you see. So even the mindfulness has become marketing already now. Although we are thinking about mindfulness, but these days we have to be very careful that are we enough with the mindfulness, or are we branding mindfulness to increase the revenue? So the mindfulness in some way, it is a Buddhist as a monk teach with free of charge. But once it gets to the West, you are charging for each session of mindfulness is quite a lot, I guess. It's costly. So, enough. In order to say enough, I guess I need to prove with some kind of theory, I guess. In Buddhism, the word we use is contentment, satisfaction, contentment. But in English, when we say contentment and satisfactions, sometimes it is not clear as the word sandod. Santuti in Pali or sandod in Thai sometimes has a very negative meaning. Once, I think it is in 1961, 1961. It was in the Champon Sarit period, one of the prime minister at the time. And at the time, there was a official ban for monks asking cooperation from all the monastery, all the monks that, Venerable Sir, would you stop teaching about enough? The government asked the monks not to teach anything about contentment, sandod. 2504 จอมพลสฤษดิ์สั่งห้ามพระสอนเรื่องสันโดษ You see, the contentment, the enough, sometimes they look at it a very different way, that enough is totally different from development, capitalism, and so and so. So if you say enough, there is no business. If you say enough, there is no increase of capitalism, which is our heart of these days, today's life. So therefore, there was a lot of misunderstanding of enough. So the one way of saying that enough in Buddhism, from monastic point of view, is that you have to know the enough is that whether when you put a lot of invest into it, there shouldn't be any enough in investment. Okay? Yatha lava santutti, yatha lava sandot. Means that you should be content, you should be enough with whatever you get, whatever you deserve, only. That's one point of enough. The second point of enough is that yatha bala sandot. Means that you are satisfied or you are content with the input you put into. The first thing is that you just accept whatever you deserve. But yatha bala means that what is your strength? You want something more than your strength. Of course, it's not possible. Of course, you will suffer from that. So you should know where is that. At the same time, the yatha sarupa sandot means that you should know what is reasonable, what is rational there. Rational, it means that the thing should be clear, should be wisdom. There's one of my teachers uses a very, very simple word. If the enough is a human, if enough is a human, his duty in the society is divide all the property equally to satisfy everyone in the society. Divide all the property. If it's a family, instead as a head of family, you are going to have your property or your inheritance to all your sons and daughters. So you divide it in a way that everyone satisfied with what they get it. So that is the word enough. But the most important thing is that as a human being, we never have enough to enough. We never get it enough because we always want. Want is become a whole thing which spin us. And we want more than what we need. So therefore, the enough is what we said is a part of a wisdom, part of a reimaginations that we have to look at properly. There is no certain word that this is enough, because every human being is different. And then every surrounding is different. So you don't have a one set of a definition, one set of a rule, golden rule that this is enough. You know, for example, if you are a 100-kilo big guy, kind of a very fat guy, and then for him, you say that just one plate of one plate of rice is enough. It's torturing him. It is not enough. It's torturing him. But how he can maintain his life in a certain way that it is not too much, it is not too little, but there is no answer for that. But I will say that you have to use the wisdom in sense that like this paper, see through it. You know the whole process of it. If you consume too much, then what will happen? It is not only harming yourself, but you are harming the whole system, the whole society. So if you know that, you know where is the enough point.
That was beautiful, thank you. It's a nice segue to another question that I have, which is whether or not capitalism is fundamentally flawed or has the potential to evolve into something that is fundamentally sound and sustainable, and if so, what do we need to do to evolve it in such a way as to make it work for the world?
I think we have to invite Adam Smith here. Because I think he's the one who gave this, the whole idea of capitalism. And then I don't know what was in his mind. From my reading, of course, the word capital, the capitalism, of course, it means that capital means the head, I guess, by the etymology. But way we are using at the moment is become, we want to own more heads, I guess. And that's all. In the heads, in old days, maybe livestock. But nowadays, it's a money stock. So it's become a money market. It's become a market. So in a way that what we want is capitalism is become a profit base. You just want more profit regardless of anything else. And that is what I understand as a capitalism. And that's why a lot of criticism is that because of your profit-based interest, so you tend to disregard everything on that sort of a scope. In reality, there's so many other things to look at. So therefore, the capitalism, if it is a way as only emphasize on livestock, only emphasize on something which is outside you, that is a money, that is a profit, that will be very dangerous ideas, I guess, because you are turning not to be a human anymore. You are becoming all this creature, dangerous creature, a demon, because you just want to feed everything yourself, regardless of anything else. So if that capital is, of course, I want to accept. But again, in capitalism, I don't know, I read right or not, even in Adam Smith, Adam Smith, isn't it? Adam Smith, yeah. He also, I think he says that in the capitalism, there's another element is about thinking of human as well, spiritual as well. So if you put that human and spiritual into capitalism, I think that capitalism becomes something wise and useful. But these days, although there was that conditions within the Adam Smith's theory, that's why I said it, that we need to bring Adam Smith to enforce that, you are taking his wrong step. Because we are taking the only one side is a profit base, which is all the goods, money, profit, and forget all human and spiritual and life and compassion and everything else. So, if we should be together, the humanity and the capital, I would say that there is no conflict between Buddhism. Because Buddhism also says that capitalism is one way of one system to increase your lifestyle. There's one very easy way, one of the Buddhas, I will just say very simply. Once one man asked the Buddha, how do I use my money? Wisely, mindfully. And Buddha says that it's very easy. Divide your property or your money, for example, 100 baht for say. Divide it into 4 parts. Let's say the one part, 25%, use it for your daily consumption, which means that daily consumption means also the supporting religion or whatever, and that's a 25 part. 50% of it, half of your income, half of your sort of investment, go back to investment. And 25, the rest, the rest 25%, keep it for your rainy days. You see? So, some time, the Buddhism is not against the capitalism, but in a way that when you invest, when you extend your investment, but do keep in mind that there is another human being along the way. There is another needy human being along the way. You are here, you are important, your business is possible because there is another human who is who is getting that advantage, who is paying for that, and so and so. So if you think there is some other one who is breathing next to you to give you a support of breathing, then that capitalism becomes a wise capital. But if you lose that humanity within the capitalism, that is a devil capitalism.
Thank you. I'm inspired by that, and I'm inspired by the fact that around the world in our community, I'm seeing businesses large and small who are understanding that at a very visceral level and are working to embed love into their business, which I heard a couple of fabulous examples of this afternoon in our sufficiency economy breakout. And I love being able to go around the world and have people talk about embedding love into business. That's inspiring to me. It's inspiring to me to see people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates giving away their vast wealth. And
very good example, yes.
Yes, exactly. I'm completely unconscious of how much time we have because I could go on all day. So somebody needs to wait. I have one more question, and then somebody needs to flag us and tell us because I could do this until all night. One of the things you talked about yesterday, which I think is really, really compelling and something that we spend a lot of energy trying to amplify, is this notion of compromise not being non-functional. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that once again, because I think it's an important note to challenge people on.
Yes. As I said in my talk yesterday, so that I'm really annoyed with the word sustainable. Because when I look at the sustainable, trying to study sustainable as it is presented in the world, And then what I always see in everyone's theory is that sustainable came out of this environment regenerations and then all this degradation and so on. So the emphasis we are given is always outside there. So how do we compromise the natural resources? How do we compromise the human quality? How do we compromise the pollution the human is consuming and leaving behind all the pollution? And behind solution of all these outside problem, which came this mantra called solution, the sustainable. And I guess that it looks right, but not right at all. Because the problem is one of the manifestation which came out of our practice, our way of thinking, our perceptions. But if we really think in that sense that you have to compromise whatever you are doing in order to compromise with the future generation, that is a sustainability. So whatever you do, you have to think of yourself and then as well as your future generation. Because if you are not mindful enough, you are stealing the future generation's right. Because we were given so much right from our ancestors. We are using so much resources for our happiness, for our living. But do we ever think that that sort of right is also there for our future generations, who is not born or who is borning or whatever? But if we are taking everything out of their hands, out of their right, we are not different from a thief. For the sake of our livings, for the sake of our surviving, we are stealing all the rights from other people. Isn't that called violating human rights? Although that human is not born yet. So we are very complicated, technologically complicated thief. We can even we can even steal the future property. And that is very difficult. And that's why we said that we have to compromise, because there will be nothing left for our children. So I guess that is a good attempt, but what I see is that it is not natural. Because as a human, if there is no desire, if there is no wanting, if there is no needing, what is the difference between the dead and life? In order to live, in order to survive, we want to eat. In order to survive, we want a nice chair to sit. You know, would you agree to sit on the floor for this conference? No. So you want all those things, and then how you want to compromise? So once you compromise with a restraining, it's against the grain. You see. So that's why what I need is that instead of against the grain, if you see, as you see the things thoroughly, relatively, and then see the causality, see everything, KoAnn, the cause and effect of what you are doing, what you are building, and if you see that, instead of someone is enforcing upon you, instead of someone is telling you to do compromise this and that, you are compromised because you are asked to. You are asked by government, you are asked by society, you are asked by this and that. But you know the cause and effect of what you are doing from inside of you. So if you know it, you don't do it. You don't have someone to come and label, say that this is an order, this is a compromises, this is a negotiation, we need to really follow, you need to really agree. For the stupid people, for the one who doesn't know, for the know all these people, they need that. But I guess that we are not stupid. We are wise enough to know that what we are doing. Be mindful of what you are doing. And if you know what you are doing, whatever action you are taking, if you are creating a lot of ripple of a bad thing, so instead of someone come and stop that because you are creating a lot of bad thing to your neighbor, but you know that if you are neighbor, you are getting that bad, and instead of doing that, you stop from the inner without your willingly, and then your gladness, sort of a delightness, and if you feel that so good that able to help, so good that my action is, benefiting others. For example, she came twice to really negotiate with me to come to these sessions, because I said that enough. One session is enough, because I am following the enough of enough. Enough is enough. Because if I'm appearing two, because to appear once is already weird here in a business meeting, seeing this monk. Last night I went and followed some of the, in the Facebook, and then I see that, there's Veer, a monk appear in the business thing. So this is already, I thought that's enough. But she persisted, no, it's not enough. So in order to please her, I'm sitting here in front of you. So for her, it's not enough, but for me, it's enough. So if my sort of jumping out and stepping line of enough to come and see you, but if my presence here, if my simple words can urge some way of the way you are thinking, put you something what you call the wholesomeness, put you to think in a way more sustainable, I guess that if I'm enough and sitting behind my in a monastery would be wrong. See, I'm all the way come here might be right, although it's going, one step further of enough. So this is what I think is that the compromise is that you have to think of compromise. If you compromise, then I have to think that I am here because Nui is asking. I don't want. But she's asking, so I have to compromise her because she's somebody in the society. So if I compromise in that sense, the way I'm speaking, I'll be maybe with a very, stiff kind of thing. I just want to, let the time pass. But I see that it is not compromise. Okay, people say that they are getting a lot from what I say. So if I say that, my energy is something, it's good for others. So I don't compromise with her. But I say, I'm delighted to be here. So they say, thank you for inviting me. You see, totally the feeling changed there. Instead of forcing there, but you do it gladly. So in a way that when you do it gladly, even you put even a very little effort, that effort creates a lot, big, more impact and the benefit to the more society. And that is what I call a sustainable. Not compromising. It's a more kind of an inner strength. It's kind of an inner giving. It's kind of an inner sort of trying to think of a holistic approach as a whole.
I loved your example yesterday of the bee, which I think is a beautiful thing for us to continue to remember and take away from here. And we talked after your talk about cradle-to-cradle design and the fact that those of you who've read Michael Brungart and Bill McDonough's book, they talk a lot about this the efficiency or ineffectiveness of sustainability, and so I love that. I think we're seeing this kind of idea come up in design thinking, and
yes.
And
so actually, just to recap, I think what I said yesterday towards the end of my talk is that when I was asked by the organizer here, and then the theme that I see is that reimagine, redesign, and rebirth, the first thing which came in mind was, the Buddhist teachings. But the Buddhist teaching, not as to pay and put a respect, the Buddhist teaching which is practicable. So that's why I try to put all these things in the formula of an Eightfold Noble Path. For many Thai, they will know that Mak Mi Ong Pad, and then whenever you see that, it's too high, it's too sacred to touch. But if you look at it, reimagine basically means that it is a Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa. Samma Ditti means that it is how you view things. And the Samma, it is as a right, proper, but I will use it especially for this conference as a sustainable view. So if you have that right view there, and then once you right view, you have a right intention there. So it means that you have viewing things in a new way. Reimagine. But how do you pick on that? To reimagine once you have this sort of a new view. So it will have impact upon redesign. What is redesign means? Design in a way that Samma Vaca, your way you speak with your employee, the way you speak with your friends and colleagues and everything, your boss, it changed because you know that whatever word you speak out, it has a very important ripple in the society. If I say please, People who is willing to do anything. If I order, will they do that? If I'm in the position, of course, if I'm military, they will do that. But if I'm not, I'm a Buddhist monk, how can I order someone? So I have to please. So that actions, the way you speak out, suddenly it becomes sustainable. It has become a more social. Samma vacha, samma kammanta, sustainable action. Means that whatever you do now, you will think of the whole process. It is not as you do it now and done. You know, just like come here, I'm not here just to speak and then go to temple. I don't care what's going to be after this. No, every actions, every word I speak, I have to be responsible. I have to think that what's going to be. Samma kammanta means that right action, the sustainable actions. Right, samma kammanta, samma ajiva, right livelihood. You see? The sustainable right livelihood, how we earn your life, everyday life. So if you are sustainable, that is what I call a redesign. And then this is the last session called Rebirth. We were given the task that our life is not anymore because the time is up and then we have to reborn now. So,
Quick.
So Rebirth is basically means that once you have this reimagine and redesign, what will happen is you will have a samma vayama, means that you have a right effort. You are doing something good now. Whatever you have done, it's going to have the better impact upon the right effort, sustainable effort. You will have a right mindfulness, a sustainable mindfulness. It means that your intention is so clear. You are mindful. You are doing every step what you do. It is so clear. Cause and pro and con of whatever you are doing. So it wouldn't create any pollution. A social pollution, a moral pollution, a psychological pollution. This pollution is not there. As well as a samma samadhi. Samadhi, not as a kind of a closing your eyes. Samadhi means the whole aspect of clarity in seeing things, able to act upon what you see as they really are. So you are able to see this paper as a piece of cloud that is right concentrations. So in a way that, then once you know that, then you are able to have that right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration become your new rebirth. It is not kind of rebirth in a new way that, in order to get a new rebirth, you have to wait until you die. No. Rebirth here means that how do you add your mental value? How do you add your value within yourself? So leave all the mistake behind, what you have done. Leave all the mistake our ancestors has been left us. So we are now wise enough to rectify that mistake. We are wise enough to think of our future generations. And that will be a new you. That will be a rebirth. And that will be should be a result, a consequence of these 2 days very important convention of sustainable brand.
I'm very grateful that you took the time to come back this afternoon. Thank you for that. We are going to get this on videotape, and it's a beautiful bit of wisdom to add to this global conversation, because we will put it on our website and we'll publish your talk from yesterday as well. I would just challenge each of you to think about all of the wisdom that's been imparted to us spiritually and also in practice through this last couple of days. I want you to understand that you are part of a global community that is working to change the world for the better, and to take heart in that, and to think about what one thing that you're going to do differently when you leave today for the coming year. I hope that you will share your stories with us. If you would want to be part of the global community that's working on this practice, sustainablebrands.com is a place you can go. We have a community on Facebook and on LinkedIn and Twitter, and we want to hear your stories and share your stories, and we want to be back again next year to hear about your growth. And I thank you so much.
Thank you very much.